Welcome back to the second half session in the morning. It is a pleasure for me to invite Dr. Sundar Venkatesh, Advisor to Executive Director of AIT Extension and Adjunct Faculty of School of Management AIT, to be our session chair for the next presentations. Professor Venkatesh, please.
Good morning, everybody. This session will focus on the theme performance enhancement of manufacturing, retail, and distribution enterprises. We have three distinguished speakers. It's my pleasure now to invite Mr. Phiraboon Phaiboontham. He holds a bachelor's in political science from Chulalongkorn University and an MSc in social science from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He is currently principal consultant in AIT Consulting at the Asian Institute of Technology. His areas of expertise cover enterprise business solution development, strategic network optimization, distribution facility design, international trading business, trade logistics, and network. He's going to talk about operation model for supply chain performance transformation. What does good look like? So please join me to invite Mr. Phiraboon Phaiboontham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a deep honor for me to be standing up here to talk to you today about a very puzzling topic, if I can say that. This morning you have heard fairly heavy insight into the enterprise view of both at the broadest level, enterprise architecture, and the smallest level. And there's a conversion somehow that I hope I can make. But first of all, as you can tell, I'm from the practitioner side. So there will be a lot of shortfall, definitely on the theoretical approach and things like that. But I hope you'll find my exposition of the concept interesting. It will be very simple, but I hope in half an hour time, you have some good takeaway from the session. Now, when we talk about these are the the content, it'll be very quick. There's a lot of slides, but I think we can go through it very fast. Definition, I know you don't like a lot of that, but it's really very short. And what is a good operation model? And then the supply chain operation model, and some application at the end that you will see that if we had adopted the methodology and approach, we can use it to do a few important things. First of all, let's get into the meaning of it. Here comes again. People still, there's perhaps hundreds version of what it is. But for management, it's basically a science of managing the value creation process. That is what we do. We create value, profitability, of course. That's the key driver. And by buying, producing, delivering the product to the end customer. And then for information technology, which we'll hear a lot today as well, both in the morning part and in the afternoon part, it's about a set of planning and execution application to make that work. including all the integration methodology and so on. So supply chain does mean different things to different people, but the implication is strong. Luckily this morning we have heard from Dr. Gulich, who's my mentor, by the way, about enterprise architecture approach. It's a unique approach to help you articulate the vision into process and so on, as he said. This is something that will sit on top, because without an operation model to tie all that element and component into the architecture is a very heavy task and take a lot of resource, and I hope this will come to that at the end. Now back to the key implication. Everybody agrees that supply chain today is the core competency. Whatever we do in the enterprise, we execute to the supply chain process. Even ERP. ERP doesn't really translate much unless you can measure it from your supply chain process, how things are executed and done. You can see the data, but the real action is at the execution level. And where you have value-added activities, how you compete, and the capability that you would need to build and sustain it. The other thing is supply chain denote an end-to-end. We can't talk about supply chain just for some point, process or solution. You have to look, as we've been hearing, I guess not just in the morning, but in the afternoon as well. Supply chain denote everything, as far as you can go with the ability to command, control, or even collaborate. So large corporation or enterprise take on an extended enterprise view, linking all of them together, meaning that they try to find some way to make that end-to-end process working better. So it lies within the direct and domain, internal and external to the enterprise. And this is the last one, which is interesting, because when you talk about strategy, how does it work? How does the strategy transpire to make things you envision happen? Strategy need to be a routine. Strategy without a routine, nothing will happen. So the more corporation can translate your strategic vision into a process execution, meaning you have a likelihood of getting there. And you do that in your supply chain process. Performance transformation. I was questioned about, is it right to use the term? We're taking on something too big. I feel actually this concept has been kind of cloudy, and I just want to see how the operation model and transformation work with supply chain. It is a fundamental change that move enterprise into a new way of doing things. It is an attempt to make things fit more closely, quickly, efficiently to your vision. So it's denote a rapid alignment of process, people, and technology with your strategy, and it's long term. So transformation is, well, anybody guess, a year and a half to 3 years, some take maybe decades. But it is a key change. This is important. Transformation doesn't mean total change. If you look at the implication, it means reorientation from domestic to international market. It's like maybe you're an athlete, track and field, and you go to high jump, things like that. And then recreation, innovation, you are doing new things that definitely need a lot of changes. And then the other one that people often forgot, revitalization. We're not as fit, and we want to trim down a bit to be fit, to bring back what we do really well. And that need a lot of changes. So this denotes what I mean about performance transformation. And these are the capability that you normally would need. I wouldn't talk too much about acquisitive. And this is a problem area for most company emerging and competing. How do you get it? Acquiring that. Technology, people, know-how. There's a process and capability in doing that. How do you adapt it in your company? Use it. And last one is really make it innovative. This process, doing that, I won't get into it, but the key one that people tend to focus on is operative. Getting the product, buying, producing, getting to the market, planning, measuring, doing all of that well. And that's the core, one of core capability that I would be talking about. Anyway, performance transformation denote ability to apply capability to improve your operation management process. And hopefully we have a better view of it. So I'm not saying that every organization need performance transformation, but we do a bit of it here and there. But how does it connect together? That's the question. And of course, and we always have a task to do initiative. And I think even more in the future to come. So instigating change and how to make it all coming together, and that kind of underlying message for the transformation. Now, why do we need an operation model? Well, we have our own operation. It's a model that we do. But is that functional enough to enable, support our transformation? Let's say we have an example of a strategic goal like reorientation of sort. Nothing much that we want to change, but some fundamental issue. And we have like supply chain performance agenda, as you see, simplified supply chain. This comes straight from current trend. As you hear, company want flexibility, better customer service, faster delivery time, and all those aspiring targets that CEO and senior management want. And these are the kind of the agenda that they will embark on to get it there. Cost of operation, handling rapid change, and so on. And then you hopefully come out with some advantage that's strategic enough to compete. Lesser cost, faster fulfillment, alignment, and so on. And at the end, make it all cohesive. That is the key. As you all know, we can change what we cannot measure. We can, of course, but we don't know what we're going to get back and how far we have come. So measuring everything in a cohesive way from end to end is almost like a dream, actually. But there are companies that can do it. And these are just a simple question, why we need an operation model. But as we try to define that in terms of certain improvement, efficiency, certain level of customer service, and we ask about our current state, what is our supply chain is it robust? What are the gaps? What are the shortfall? Capability, and how do we monitor it? And then the future state, what we need. And all of this is complex problem, and we, of course, as you have a lot of team involved from end to end, where would they start? Who would articulate all of this issue without an operation model? It's a reference model. That's what I'm getting to. And to help drive our process performance. And the good characteristic of an operation model, you need to have end-to-end coverage. Define your model. You need to have process definition and standard, so people know where they're moving to or from. Process efficiency. It has to be fairly good that you can adopt it or align with it. It has to have a process relationship. How does it work together? It has to have performance, what that process will do. What is the attribute, that performance that you want to measure? It has to link process to strategy. It has to align target across all of it. It has to hopefully define measurement on how to achieve that target, and has to link those measurements at multiple levels. It has to hopefully describe best practice and referable solution. Is there something that I can do with it to enable in terms of technology or even some manual practice? And, oops, I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay. Lastly, it has to hopefully facilitate certain benchmarking. Well, for those who already know, this could be a bit of a revisit, but as I find in most part, senior managers or senior executive is maybe not too familiar with the model that I'm talking about. It's supply chain operation reference model by the Supply Chain Council. I would like to reintroduce this model and hopefully see some application how you can use this model to apply to enable your performance transformation. This model doesn't prescribe a lot of logic in terms of the component and relationship that you need, like system to enable things like that. But it's a very good process standard and definition on how to move and manage your supply chain. Normally it takes about two days to describe it, but I'll do it very quickly in 10 minutes. It breaks the supply chain. It's very simple supply chain. You buy, you make, and you deliver, and you plan it. And there's some return, of course, that what you don't need or doesn't meet your quality. And that is the highest level of the supply chain. Then supply chain operation reference model, or SCORE in short. Break that down a little bit into a subset of process element. Plan defined into different set of plan. Plan for everything, and then plan for sourcing, plan for making, and for deliver and distribution. And sourcing, manufacturing, break that down as well. And here what it looks like. Now there's a lot of concept there that I don't have time to get into, but just to make a exposition of why it's important, that Supply Chain Council structure the supply chain framework like this. As you know, make to stock and make to order and engineer to order is difficult undertaking. If we don't have that definition clear cut, what you end up is the first day you got material from your supplier, where should go? How should I locate what I need to make for stock and what I need to make for order? That definition will help you manage your inventory better. And the worst thing you want to do in your make to order is that you don't have enough supply because somebody took it and make it into stock. We all know the concept about make to order really well. You make it only when you have an order. And this is a key definition in doing better process management. And hopefully you can learn about it more with reference that I will give you later. And this help break the supply chain into a more process of service characteristic of the organization. And from there is the last level, which is simply a level 3, that each of the process type, there's a way of doing it. This is a 4th step for plan to make, plan for your production. It's very simple, 1, 2, 3, 4. And how does this come about? Well, the model originates from 69 practitioning company back in '96. Now they have over 1,000 membership. And they come together because it's very difficult to align. Definition, metrics, how to collaborate. And Supply Chain Council is set up, and it's a nonprofit to proliferate the practice and methodology. And it's still advancing this state-of-the-art model. It's now in version 11. And it's about, it started with this thick, it's now about this thick. But don't be worried about that because the structure is very simple. It's just a lot of process definition, but it's structured the same. It's not that difficult to understand. And it's both cross-industry standard. You can use it for any industry. It has re-engineering, benchmarking tools, best practice built in, and some recommended solution as well. And then this is the reference site if you want to go to supplychain.org. Again, coming back, I just give you a quick view of what I meant. Supply chain planning, we look at that. Source to stock product, make to order, and deliver a stock product. These are the 3-4 process. And the process type and element look like this. It provides you with a very simple flow, and you have input and output. And those input and output is defined and relate to other process. So you can use that and see what you're doing in your plan. This is for the whole supply chain. Then this is source, buying things for your stock product, made to stock. There's 5 ways and process in doing it, with input and output definition. Make to stock, this is your production. It's only 6 steps. This is deliver. There's a lot of steps. And this is where things often goes wrong. There's a 15, 16 step here. And this is a close-up view that you have the input and output, and all of this is interrelated. You have here, this is explanation in the reference model that define what that process is. Schedule product delivery. What does it mean? Very precise definition, and you can use that as your standard. It has attribute that you can measure, reliability, what you need to do. This is a metric to measure that. And then this is the best practice for that process. What are the world-class companies doing in this process? So you have a quick reference there. Input-output definition, as I mentioned. For example, all the rules. These are one of the input. And then the process, where did it relate to? What process would this order rule need to be applied? These are the key attributes. We're talking about measurement now. There's a 10 high-level measurement. This is at the top of everything. And under this, there's thousands of measurements. Some is unique to your organization. Some supply chain council provided for you. And this measurement measure all these attributes. Measuring customer, measuring internal things that you do. Just take an example, perfect order. Measure reliability in your entire supply chain. What the customer order, the customer gets. Simple as that. And this is how you, in this reference model, you can link it together. Level 1, you want it to be everything reliable, from your sourcing, manufacturing to your delivery. You want to measure perfect order fulfillment. And these are the level 2 metrics that you need to have. Percent in full, conformance, document, perfect condition, no damage, and it has to be perfect. You have to collect money too for these metrics. And these are the 3rd level that ties it together for all the reliability target. So when you're trying to think about you're doing scorecard and you do all that, and where could I come up with the metrics? This hopefully gives you a good reference on the metric and to measure your process. Now I come to the last 3 slides. So I'm on time, I think. Application. As I mentioned earlier, this sits on top. You need to align your operation with your reference model, because if you're transforming, you're doing architecture, that could involve a huge sum of investment. You need to have a vision a little bit of what you want out of this. Where do we want to go? So this is a good start where you're trying to align things first, hopefully with what you envision as your target. You're going to drive cost, drive performance over the next few years. With that model, then you have a good chance of really making the architecture work. And just briefly to say that once you have the architecture there, you can then deploy your BPM. And that will fine-tune what you need to make it process very efficient. This is just a sample. The score model provides you with this template and metrics and standard and everything you need. There's a lot. And including return too. What you need is simply map it out. This is a sample from my actual practice from a company. This is $8 billion US business now. And it maps everything. This is the highest level. It goes down really long chain. By the time you have something here to there, it takes about 6 months. And it linked together from sourcing, production, and on in a whole long integration of change. And then you can see how that works and go to a different level, and you see where are our problem and how we want to make it a little bit better. So mapping and configuration of where you want to go. The other way that you can do this is to do a performance measurement. From supplier, you measure performance on time in full. You have here 85%. Then you measure your input into your production, 85%, for example. Achieving the schedule, 95%. And then you measure your perfect order fulfillment, your reliability metrics. And you find that it's about 85%. So it's very simple. If you have that built in your system, you can say, if it's 85 there and it's 90 there, what's going on? Where did the 5% go? You can see the performance and track that. Or from your sourcing into your production, if you have 95% there, but you're doing 85% on front, how can you have 95% there? Very simple. Maybe we have a lot of buffer stock in the factory. But it's going to be a problem maybe next week, next month. You might not have enough. And you can apply hundreds of metrics like this into your supply chain, what you want to track and improve. So a simple diagnostic. And this is something that really interesting. You can use this model to capture your ERP and supply chain requirement. Normally, that takes a lot of exercise, busload of consultant, vendor from all sorts to help you map it out, what is the requirement. I did this in a very used score model. But these are things that the company can do internally. For example, we can take the delivery process. We have 15 processes. We just train the people to say, well, we work in some of that silo. It might not be a standard across the enterprise, but we have a model here. Use this standard. Find where you're at and say what's wrong in your D1.1. And they fill the requirement accordingly and all other information you need. Once you gather all that, this is what you get. You have a map of requirement, both, let's start with the below, different area of your supply chain. Plan, make, source, deliver. Accordingly, there's 2,800 requirements that you can get from different area of service, including some return. And there's different ways, expectation, what do you want to do with it, with those requirements? Reduce time, and these are simple things that people want. And you redefine that again, how does it cascade from the top? From here, you can see only 288 is at the top level. This is enterprise, is a $3 billion US company. Many BU, 6 BU actually, as you see here. A lot of company, a lot of department, and within the department. And this takes 4 months with about a lot of engagement, a lot of people. Make it short, make it fast, and simple enough. People will surprise you what they can do. And with this, you can do a lot, what you need for your process enablement. So what I have here is a very simple reference model that I hope that will be interesting enough for you to help you improve your supply chain performance. And if there's a chance that you want to discuss about this some more, I'm pleased to do so. And thank you very much for your kind attention today. I hope you'll be one of the class of company up here that can enjoy the practice underscore from the supply chain concept. Thank you.